Okay. So before doing this functional nutrition, I also used to be think like that only, that if my HB is like whatever, 10, 11, 12, whatever, so it will be like that. And people accept it like a trend कि ठीक है सभी का HB कम है तो इसमें क्या हो गया. But then when you read about it, then you get to know कि कितना कुछ और है इसके अंदर, and this is not that intricated, or just one level is, one clear picture is thought when it comes to iron, कि it will be a iron deficiency or it will be a protein deficiency. नहीं ऐसा ही होता है.
Yes,
See,
ma'am.
it has to be a two-way communication, otherwise तो मुझे ऐसे लगेगा कि मैं blank picture के साथ बात कर रही हूँ.
No, no.
Okay, so let's not do it, but then the class is like designed step by step, and I am going to narrate a story around iron. Okay, I am not going to tell you about what is iron deficiency anemia, what is pernicious anemia, and what is all those things I'm not going to cover. But just to understand what iron and how it matters inside the body, that will be the counter of discussion for another 40-45 minutes. And if you have any doubts, any questions, that will be taken care at the end of the session. Also, in case if the time is over, then you can post your queries in the group that I will be going to make after this session. ठीक है? Clear? Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right.
Okay, ma'am. Okay, ma'am.
Okay. So, okay. Let's start with iron. Guys, please mute yourself. So, guys, please mute yourself. Okay. So let's start with the very most important foundation, iron. Iron, as it is written, is a trace essential mineral. So when I say trace essential mineral, that means the body needs it in very small amounts. But those small amounts are very critical to the body. Why? Because the body cannot make iron. So, iron must come from food or supplements. But iron is very different from the other nutrients, as because iron is powerful. So, when I say powerful, that means that too little iron will lead you to fatigue or poor oxygen delivery or anemia. But on the other hand, too much iron is equally dangerous. Okay. So why? Because excess iron creates oxidative damage and can injure the cells or organs. So because of this dual risk, the body treats iron like a controlled substance. That means the iron is not freely absorbed. So iron is never left loose in the body. It is always bound to protein. Correct? Yes or no?
Yes,
Hmm?
ma'am.
So, okay.
Yes.
So when I say it is bound to protein, so why? Because it is safely stored and carefully transported, used only when needed. So this strict control protects the body. Okay. So from a functional nutrition perspective, this is the first rule to remember, that most iron problems are not about the intake, they are about the regulation. Okay. So when I say regulation, that means कि when see Iron does not act on its own. It works through a protein called hemoglobin. ये हमने सबने पढ़ा हुआ है, ठीक है? Iron, hemoglobin, oxygen. So over the 2, 3 first slides, we are just going to talk about these thing terminologies only. ठीक है? आयरन फ्रीली नहीं घूमेगा, वो बाउंड होगा किसके साथ? हीमोग्लोबिन के साथ। हीमोग्लोबिन इज फाउंड इनसाइड द रेड ब्लड सेल्स एंड इट्स ओनली जॉब इज टू कैरी ऑक्सीजन। ठीक है? क्लियर है? इट द जॉब ऑफ हीमोग्लोबिन इज नॉट टू गिव यू एनर्जी, एनीवेज इट हैज टू डू ओनली वन जॉब एंड दैट हैज टू कैरी द ऑक्सीजन। सो ये हमने सबने पढ़ा हुआ है कि हीमोग्लोबिन इज made of two parts. So globin, which is the protein framework, and heme, in which it contains the iron. So we can say that iron is a active part, and each hemoglobin molecule contains 4 iron atoms. Each iron atom binds one oxygen molecule. So one hemoglobin can carry 4 oxygen molecules. Matlab, it is a vehicle which is carrying the oxygen and providing throughout the body. Okay? So this is why the iron deficiency has a big impact even when a small drop affects the oxygen delivery everywhere. So the most important relationship to remember is that iron is a raw material and hemoglobin is a functional structure. ठीक है? Clear है? So having an iron in the body does not automatically mean that hemoglobin will made properly. Okay? For hemoglobin to form correctly, the iron must be absorbed, be transported and incorporated into the hemoglobin. Failure into any of these steps will lead to anemia or poor oxygen supply. Okay? So that means that uh, many people say that my iron is okay, but my HB is low. So this tells us the problem is not the intake, it's the utilization. And when we see it as a functional nutrition unit, so if the iron is present but HB is low, the next question comes that where is the processing breakdown? ठीक है? Okay. So, Abhi, now let's put this iron hemoglobin together and see how the system actually works. So, when we breathe in, the oxygen enters the lungs. Inside the lung, the iron that sits inside the hemoglobin binds the oxygen. Okay? And hemoglobin then travels through the bloodstream and deliver oxygen to the tissues, uh, tissues, and then your heart, your muscles, mitochondria, and every cell. Okay? So once this oxygen reaches the tissues, it is released. Okay? And that is the oxygen then is used inside the mitochondria to produce ATP, which is energy, the oxidation, the phosphorylation. So the entire energy system of the body depends upon the supply chain: iron, hemoglobin, oxygen, and ATP. So if the iron is low, this chain breaks at a very first step. So you may have normal lungs, normal breathing, normal blood volume. But if the iron is low, the oxygen cannot deliver effectively. And that is why the iron deficiency does not just cause anemia, it causes fatigue also, it causes poor exercise tolerance also, it causes brain fog also. So the body becomes lazy and the cells are oxygen starved. Okay? So this is also why the people feel exhausted even before the HB or the anemia drops enough to be called a anemia. Okay? So iron deficiency is a energy delivering problem first and a blood problem later. ठीक है. So and then uh, let's just see over the this part that uh, where iron actually exists inside the body. So most of the iron in the body is present, like 65% is hemoglobin. Okay. This is the iron that is actively working every day. Okay. Now, about 30% of iron is ferritin, which is mainly stored part of your iron that is stored in your liver, spleen, or bone marrow. It's like ferritin works like a bank, iron bank for the body. जैसे अभी if like there's a surplus of a ration in a home, so you will keep that ration in the store. So same is with this thing. So we bifurcate this circulating iron and stored part of iron into two parts. So one is your active 65%, then is 30% is your ferritin, that is the stored part. Okay. So a small amount of iron is also found in your muscles and in your enzymes, where it supports the energy production and metabolism. So यहाँ पे something very important is that body is extremely good in recycling iron. So when red blood cells complete their lifespan, the iron is recovered and reused, and only a small amount of iron is lost each day. So if the iron is so well conserved, so the why this iron deficiency anemia is so common? That itself tells us something powerful, that iron deficiency anemia is usually not because the iron is disappearing, it is because the iron is not being absorbed properly, or iron is not stored, or stored but not released, or iron is blocked due to inflammation. So this is why the functional nutrition pathways comes, and we say that iron deficiency is a supply chain problem, not a dietary problem. Okay, so if someone comes to you with a anemia, obviously you will look up to the HB, and then you will say that, okay, okay, I will give you a protein rich diet, a vitamin C rich diet, uh, not looking at the perspective that the other things are also involved, which we are going to cover in this coming slides. So this sets up for a crucial step, that how the iron moves or gets blocked in the body. So if the iron exists in the body and is even stored, why does it fail to reach the hemoglobin? So these are the questions you need to see, rather than just seeing the number of the HB or the iron. Okay, clear? Are you guys clear? Are you guys
Yes, ma'am.
okay?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now how does the iron get absorbed? ठीक है, अभी हमने ये देख लिया कि आयन क्या है, उसके बाद हमने देख लिया हीमोग्लोबिन क्या है, ऑक्सीजन डिलीवरी कैसा हो रहा है. ठीक है, नाउ वी विल सी दैट how does the iron get absorbed. Most of you have already done all these things, but there is a different functional lens towards the thing. ठीक है. So now the most important part is how iron actually enters the body. So the iron is absorbed mainly in the duodenum, the first part of the intestine. Okay, but the key point here is the iron absorption is not automatic. Just by because you are eating a iron does not mean that it will enter the bloodstream. Obviously, it will need some mechanism. ना सीधा आपने कुछ protein khaya, so that will not get converted to iron. Okay? Even the heme iron also, like the animal protein also. So it must be in a right chemical form. That is number one. Second, you should have a healthy gut lining for the absorption. Third, that the passage through which controls the transport system should be correct, because body has its own checkpoints for iron. ठीक है, वो वही एक्सेप्ट करेगी जो उसके पास नहीं है. इट विल नॉट एक्सेप्ट लाइक कि ठीक है, दिस इज नॉट लाइक अ कार्बोहाइड्रेट और समथिंग, कि ठीक है, ग्लूकोज glycogen is going on and all those things. So this is a very intricate mechanism, especially when it comes to iron, even calcium also. ठीक है. एंड इफ यू विल सी द पैटर्न, आपको हमेशा यही दो डेफिशिएंसीज यूजली मिलेंगी. ठीक है. सो why? Because the iron is powerful and potentially dangerous in excess. So the body actively decides that how much iron to absorb, when to block. This is why, say, if two people eating the same iron-rich diet can have a different iron levels. Even also why iron supplements work different for different for different people. Uh, what I try to say is, if somebody is taking a iron supplement, that will work differently on one person and will act differently on other person. So from this perspective, where what how much iron should we take? Okay, why my body is not allowing the iron to enter the body? If the iron absorption is controlled, and then something must be controlling it. Okay, so what comes in? The key point is the hepcidin. So hepcidin is a hormone which is made by a liver. So its simple job is that it decides whether the iron is allowed into the bloodstream or not. Okay, so think a hepcidin as a security guard. Have you heard about this hepcidin ever?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
No, ma'am. No.
Okay. So as I said that it is a hormone made by a liver. ठीक है. And it controls the iron absorption and release. ठीक है. लेकिन अगर हेप्साइडिन हाई होगा तो आयरन विल नॉट गोइंग टू अब्सॉर्ब. अब वो क्यों हाई होगा? ठीक है. सो when the iron is absorbed from the gut और आयरन इज रिलीज फ्रॉम स्टोरेज. ठीक है. हीमोग्लोबिन अगर वो प्रोडक्शन कंटिन्यूस तभी होगा जब ये सारी हेप्साइडिन जो है वो लो होगा. अगर हेप्साइडिन हाई होगा, सो आई विल टेल यू हाउ टू गो अबाउट दिस हेप्साइडिन एंड एवरीथिंग. जस्ट लिसन टू द दिस थिंग अभी के लिए. सो व्हेन द हेप्साइडिन इज इन हाई, वो क्यों हाई होगा? मे बी the iron absorption is blocked, maybe the iron is locked inside the storage. ठीक है. जब मैंने ये बोला कि there are two types of iron, one is the circulating iron and one is the storage part of iron. अब वो storage part को circulating में कब डालना है, that is the job of the hepcidin. ठीक है. So अब iron is there in the body, but still your body levels are showing anemic. That means some or the other inflammation is going on in the body. वो क्यों बंद होगा, या वो जब भी वो हाई होगा तो बॉडी में क्या होगा? Either it can be a infection. ठीक है. इसको ऐसे भी समझ सकते हैं कि पैथोजन और अ माइक्रो ऑर्गेनिज्म एंड अ ह्यूमन, दे बोथ नीड ब्लड. ठीक है. सो जब बॉडी को ये सेंस होगा दैट आई एम इन डेंजर और द सम इन्फेक्शन इज देयर, सो इट विल सील द गेट्स. ठीक है. एंड इट विल नॉट रिलीज आयरन. अब घर में अगर आपके, इफ यू हैव अ थेफ्ट एट योर प्लेस, सो कहीं ना कहीं यू विल हाइड द थिंग्स कि वो सामने नहीं नजर आए. तो बॉडी इज ऑल्सो वेरी वेरी स्मार्ट. ठीक है. इस जो मतलब इफ यू जस्ट थिंक अबाउट द मार्कर्स कि किस किस तरीके से बॉडी अपने आप को बचाती है, ठीक है, या प्रोटेक्ट करती है. तो दिस इज वन ऑफ द प्रोटेक्टिव मैकेनिज्म ऑफ द बॉडी. whenever body senses a inflammation or a infection or a insulin resistance, so this hepcidin level will go up. And because of this, क्या करने की कोशिश कर रही है? सो iron should not be become a food for the pathogens. So during the inflammatory phase, body intentionally hides the iron to what? स्लो बैक्टीरियल ग्रोथ. वो बैक्टीरियल ग्रोथ को कम करने के लिए या फिर ऑक्सीडेटिव स्ट्रेस को, डैमेज को बचाने के लिए, it will reduce the level, and those levels will not show in the blood markers. So when uh, iron drops during illness, the body is not failing, it is protecting itself. So that's why in functional nutrition, we never give iron blindly. So first we ask, is the body is in the state where the iron is safe to use? Okay? Because agar hepcidin is high and iron supplements are not the solution. Okay? They are rather a burden to the body. ठीक है. So if the hepcidin blocks the iron during inflammation, then the correcting iron deficiency means we have to fix the inflammation first and then to give the iron, just not blindly give the iron supplements. ठीक है. Understood?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay, so next we will see for the inflammation and the iron trap. Okay, so this is a very important path when it comes to not only planning the diet and supplementation, but the other things also. So many people come with you with reports saying that hemoglobin is low or serum iron is low, but the ferritin looks normal or even high. ठीक है. तो in FN we also take ferritin as a first inflammatory marker. अगर ferritin above जा रहा है तो कहीं ना कहीं that is a गड़बड़ in inside the body. ठीक है. So if the ferritin is normal, that means your iron stores are fine, but the person can still feel exhausted or breathless or weak or foggy. So what is happening? Okay? So basically the inflammation is present in the body. ठीक है. And which raises the body's, again I am coming to the same thing, the hepcidin is high. ठीक है. So अगर वो high होगा तो definitely it will lock the iron in the storage. Iron cannot reach the hemoglobin. Ferritin may become normal or high, but functional iron will not be available to the body. So is this the iron deficiency anemia? Is this the right case to feed the iron to the body? Yes or no?
No.
Guys? Okay. Okay. So, I am going to tell you what all levels to check when and how to decide whether the candidate needs a iron supplementation or a correction, or bringing down the inflammation can solve the problem. Okay. So, okay. Okay, so that means that uh, uh, why giving more iron here doesn't improve the hemoglobin, rather it causes the side effects and it increases the oxidative stress. Acha, let's just take this example, like there's a calcium this thing blockage in the arteries. So where does this calcium come from? Do you have any idea about it? How come that plaque formation is there in the arteries? होता है ऐसा cases.
Yes,
So how come it is there?
through the dietary supplements,
And
yes,
right,
without
supplements. And most of us takes iron calcium supplements on random basis without
mm,
checking what the body markers are showing us. So this is the first core of this thing, that without checking the inflammatory markers like the CRP and the other inflammatory drivers and the metabolic health, do not give any iron or iron supplementation, because iron may sit across the linings of the organs and it may create oxidative stress for the body's organs. ठीक है. So when the ferritin is normal but the energy is low, the question is not that how much iron we should give. The question is why the inflammation keeping iron locked away. ठीक है. If we know that the iron absorption is regulated, so now let's just see that what all we need for a healthy absorption. आपने तो डाइट में प्लान कर दिया कि ये प्रोटीन खाना है, ये आयरन की ये वाले चीजें लेना है, बट if the gastric lining is not good, if you do not have a healthy stomach acid, or if the person is taking any antacids, you will not going to, there will be again problem in the absorption pathway. ठीक है, तो it's not like कि सिर्फ what I'm trying to tell you कि सिर्फ आयरन HB का नंबर देख के if you are saying that the person is anemic, so that's a very very wrong approach. So iron needs a acidic environment to become usable. ठीक है, so low stomach acid which is very very common due to stress हो सकता है, due to thyroid issues हो सकता है, and this acid will suppress this absorption and reduces the iron absorption dramatically. ठीक है, second can be a healthy gut lining. So iron is absorbed through intestinal cells, but if the gut lining is inflamed, so somebody is having a leaky gut or some other problem going on, or a damage or a infected lining, iron cannot pass through effectively. ठीक है, थर्ड इज दिस विटामिन सी थ्योरी, ये सब हमने पढ़ी हुई है, दैट विटामिन सी इज वन ऑफ द स्ट्रॉन्गेस्ट नेचुरल एनहांसर्स फॉर द आयरन absorption. It converts the iron into a form that the body can easily absorb. So that's why that lemon in dal and citrus with the iron supplements works well. And fourth and very important is the adequate protein. So iron is always transported bound to the protein, hemoglobin. So heme and globin. So low protein intake, obviously, poor iron movement, it will lead to, and then even if the iron intake is adequate, so भी the anemia will going to come in the picture because of the low protein diet. And last is the inflammation. So if the inflammation is present, the hepcidin rises and blocks the iron, no matter what iron or how much good diet you are taking. Okay, but if the inflammation is there, that will going to block this. Okay, so simple rule is create the right environment and iron will absorb. So these are the points actually which one should look in for rather than just giving the diet correction and the supplementation. So the question here is about creating the right internal environment. When the environment is right, the iron moves naturally where it needed. Okay? Okay. So what blocks the iron absorption? This theory we all have studied in our courses. Like the most common blocker is tea coffee. So tea coffee contains polyphenols that binds the iron and prevent it from being absorbed. Even healthy habits can become a problem if the timing is wrong. So if a person is taking tea or coffee immediately after the meals, that can reduce the iron absorption significantly. This I can give you an example. Just day before yesterday, there was a obese candidate with 120 kgs female with a PCOS pattern. And what the dietary intake was, morning a parantha and a tea, cup of tea. Before that, again a bed tea and a rusk, and then a mid morning that was a coffee with a very little this thing desi khand jisko bolte hain. Then it was lunch again at time, but after half an hour, she was having a black coffee. Evening again, because it is high time to have tea, and dinner, post dinner also, because she used to feel like low energy dips. So then again, a cup of tea or coffee. Now tell me, what will the iron do and what will the nutrients do to this? So how come the weight becomes 120 with sudden sugar crashes? Am I right on this point or no? Hello? Nobody is interested to give a
Yes.
feedback. Okay. Okay. So then this is one thing, that tea and coffee with meals. The other thing is the calcium taken with iron. So again, calcium competes with iron as a synergism effect. So taking a iron calcium or a dairy along with iron reduces the iron uptake. Third is the magnesium and zinc taken together. So these minerals share transport pathways with iron. So when taken together, they compete and will lead to less of iron absorption. Fourth is the high phytate foods. Like phytates are found in unsoaked grains and legumes and seeds. So these bind the iron and make it unavailable uh, unless you use a preparatory method like soaking and a fermentation. And finally, the poor gut or the inflammation. So even with the perfect timing, a good food choice, a damaged or a inflamed gut lining will not let the iron absorb properly. So that's the big this thing, that iron absorption fails. Not because the people don't try, but it fails because the timing in the internal environment are ignored. So uh, we just don't ask like what are you taking, when are you taking, what are you taking with, what is the internal gut environment like. If you are having a acid reflux or a bloating or something, definitely kahin na kahin pe jaake the absorption will be low. So most of the iron protocols fails, not because that the iron is weak, but the strategy is incomplete. So when I say so the first thing is the iron is given without fixing the absorption. ठीक है. सो बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट इज, ठीक है, आपने डाइटरी वाला सब पार्ट देख लिया, आपने स्ट्रेस लेवल देख लिया, आपने इन्फ्लेमेशन देख लिया, बट why the iron supplements often fail? So that's because the iron is given without fixing the absorption. ठीक है. Then the second thing is the inflammation is ignored. So कहीं ना कहीं पे if the hepcidin is high due to inflammation, the iron is actively blocked no matter how the high dose of iron or iron supplementation you are giving. This is why people taking like iron for months, they see no improvement. Third is the wrong form of iron. So many common iron salts are harsh on the gut. They irritate the gut lining, worsen the inflammation, and reduces the compliance. Fourth and very important point is the wrong timing with the meals and the minerals, like fighting for their places, like the iron, calcium, magnesium, zinc, all of those things. And then is the even the tea, coffee also. All of this will block the absorption. And finally, the side effects like nausea, vomiting, bloating, or metallic taste that makes people stop iron supplements or iron protocols completely. So this is often interpreted as iron intolerance, but in reality, the the poor planning is the problem. So from a functional nutrition point, the iron supplement don't fail because the iron doesn't work. They fail because the body is not ready to receive iron. So once the environment is corrected, the iron requirements often drop and results improve. Okay? Okay. So once we accept that the iron failure is a strategy issue, the next step is choosing a right form of iron. So not all the iron supplements behave same in the body. The most common form is a ferrous salt. They are inexpensive, they are widely used, but often they are harsh on gut. They can cause nausea, they can cause constipation, they can cause bloating. People with sensitive digestion or high inflammation, these forms can actually worsen the absorption. Next is the chelated forms. So the iron is bound to a amino acid. This makes it gentle on gut and easier to tolerate. So these chelated forms are often better. People with gut sensitivities, long-term supplementation, this they can have this chelated forms for better tolerance. Third one is the liposomal iron, which is it's it's not a practical thing to find it in India because it's not available over the counter. So you need to see what forms are available. So liposomal form is especially useful where the compliance is poor, where the inflammation is present, and finally the food-based iron. Okay, these are not meant to correct the severe deficiencies alone, but they are excellent in maintaining and giving a gentle support. So the most important rule is that there is no best iron for everybody, but the best iron depends upon the gut environment, inflammation level, and tolerance. So in functional nutrition, we match the iron form to the person, not to the number. Okay. But even the right form of iron will fail if the body lacks nutrients needed to absorb the iron. So what are those nutrients? So they are vitamin C, vitamin A, B complex, copper, adequate protein, and iron without cofactors is equals to poor utilization. So one of the biggest mistake in correcting the iron therapy is using is as a standalone nutrient. But we know that iron never works alone. For the iron absorption to be it better or transported or used properly, the body needs a supporting nutrients or cofactors. So first is vitamin C. Vitamin C converts the iron like Fe3 to Fe2, that is the absorbable form. This is why the iron works better with taken with vitamin C or lemon water or in a midday. Second is vitamin A. Vitamin A helps to mobilize the stored iron and supports the hemoglobin synthesis. Without vitamin A, iron can be remain stuck in the store. Third is the B complex. Now, B vitamins are essential for the production of red blood cells, heme synthesis, energy metabolism. A low B vitamin can blunt the response to iron therapy. Fourth is the copper. Copper helps to move the iron and incorporate it properly. So if the ferritin is high, the circulating iron is low, usually the first line of treatment is to give copper. But too much copper or too little copper can disrupt the iron absorption. And finally, the adequate protein. So iron is transported in the blood bound to the protein, and low protein intake is equals to poor iron movement even with the supplements. So iron, we can understand this like iron is like a brick, and these core nutrients or cofactors are like a cement. So without cement, you are not going to make a structure. It will be of no use. Okay, so this slide is where the iron correction becomes effective. Even the right iron form will fail if the timing is wrong. So first thing, the iron supplement should be taken empty stomach. Iron absorbs better when it is taken on empty stomach because of the fewer substances competing with it. But if someone's gut is sensitive or then it is not a very good thing. So iron can be taken with a meal. Second is pair with the vitamin C. So vitamin C dramatically improves the iron absorption. This is why the iron works better with a lemon water or citrus or a vitamin C ka supplement. Usually you will see people taking midday mein iron and vitamin C supplements together. Third is separated, because that is the only time where people used to take their tea, coffee. So it should be separated from the other minerals also, like the calcium, magnesium. So nuts is not a very good option. Uh, Again, with a zinc supplement is not a very good option. So these should be taken at least 2 to 3 hours apart. Okay. And then tea and coffee should be avoided 1 to 2 hours. Just a second. Uh, guess everybody is in. Nobody's out. Okay. All right. So, fifth rule is start slow and build up. High doses increases the side effects and reduces the compliance. So, starting a low allows the gut to adapt and improve the long-term success. And finally, the inflammatory check. So if the inflammation is present, iron may not work regardless of the timing. In those cases, inflammation should be addressed first. Do not push the iron hard. Use iron smarter. And once we understand the timings, the final question is, uh, when should iron not to be given at all? Okay, so iron is essential, but it is also a pro oxidant in excess. So it will give you a oxidative stress if the iron levels will go on a higher basis. So pathologically, this is the range is like up to 120 or 140, but functionally we cut it off at 100. So there are situations where the iron can actually worsen the problem. So first is the high ferritin with inflammation. Okay. So how will you rule out when you do the blood test and the ferritin is high? This is not the right time to give iron supplementation or iron correction in the diet. First and foremost, you need to correct the inflammation. Ferritin rises during inflammation. It is one of the markers of inflammation. It is like a positive phase reactant. So some things are like negative phase reactants. Like if there is an infection, so your serum albumin will go down, and globulin will go up. Same ways, in the case of infection or inflammation, the ferritin works as a positive phase reactant. So it will come up with the levels. Okay. So again, 2 point checkers. If the ferritin is high and CRP is elevated, iron is already present, but it's blocked. Okay, so giving more iron here will increase the oxidative stress. Second thing is active inflammation. If the active inflammation, as I said, that the bacteria and pathogens need iron to grow as well. So during infection, the body intentionally hides the iron to protect itself. So giving iron during an active infection is like feeding the enemy. Third is inflammatory conditions. So in case of a autoimmune condition or a obesity or a insulin resistance or a chronic illness, the hepcidin often remains elevated. So until the inflammation is addressed, the iron will not move properly. Fourth is the iron overloading pattern. In some individuals, even in alcoholics also, you will see that iron overloading pattern. The alcoholic pattern will not going to give you a true picture of anemia, because the alcohol stays in cells. So the levels will be elevated always. So it's a good thing to give them a 3 months out of that alcohol withdrawal, and then recheck and then assess whether the person is having a nutritional anemia or not. So in some individuals, absorb iron, the iron absorption is too highly efficient. ठीक है, so blind supplementation can lead to damage organ. आजकल this is a very famous trend कि my friend is taking a supplement or my neighbor is taking a supplement and this is a good supplement and it has come from abroad. So let me just start. This is the usual pattern which people follow. If the gut cannot tolerate iron, forcing will worsen the inflammation and reduce the absorption further. So, from a FN rule, iron is not a default supplement, it is a targeted intervention. So, before giving any iron, we must check whether the body is in a state where the iron is safe and use the right now or maybe later on. Okay, so these are the tests, how to read the iron blood test. So only HB you should not look into, but most of the people, even the clinicians also, they look at the hemoglobin and they tells us, but hemoglobin only tells us how much oxygen carrying capacity exists right now, but it does not tell that why the HB is low or whether the iron is absorbed, whether the iron is blocked, whether the iron is safe to give. So that is the functional panel which we look on all the markers rather than just looking at the single marker. So let's just break this out. If the HB or the hemoglobin is low, that shows functional oxygen delivery. It fails, it falls late in iron deficiency. ठीक है, जरूरी नहीं है कि वो उसी टाइम पे दिखेगा. Then is the ferritin, shows the stored iron but also rises in inflammation. So normal ferritin does not guarantee a usable iron. Next is the serum iron, जो circulating iron है at that movement only. It fluctuates and never you should look alone to only serum iron, but rather than total iron binding capacity and percent transferring saturation that shows how much iron carrying capacity is available. And low saturation often reflects poor iron delivery to tissues. Last is the CRP or the inflammation marker. So this is critical. If the CRP is elevated, the hepcidin is usually elevated too, which means that this is not the correct time to give a iron or a iron supplementation. Rather, you should look for the other measures, like if is the iron being absorbed, is the iron being transported, is the iron being locked due to inflammation, or is iron safe to mobilize right now or no. So iron labs tells you a story, not a single answer. And once you learn to read the story now, the iron correction becomes a predictable, not the guesswork. So when the iron labs are read in a pattern, we stop guessing and then we start correcting it precisely. So putting it all together is like we never jump straight to supplements. We follow the flow. Is the iron intake adequate? Is the absorption working? Is the inflammation blocking iron? Is iron reaching hemoglobin? Is iron safe to give right now? So when you do this, okay, checklist 1, 2, 3, 4. So but then this show is not only to look at the iron numbers or the just looking at the iron transferrin and other things. You have to look at the other markers as well. Okay. So that gives you when you do a root cause analysis interpretation of all the 8 levels which we check in functional nutrition, that creates a whole story or a whole show, and that tells you actually what picture is, it gives you a picture. Like clinically, if it gives you the blocks, so functional, it gives you the matrix where you put the blocks and then the story is readable actually. into full thing. So iron deficiency isn't just about low intake, and hemoglobin isn't just the root cause problem, it is the final signal. And understanding how the iron works is the foundation. Correcting iron clinically requires anatomy, a lab pattern recognition, and a structured protocol. So that's why the level 3 is designed. If this approach like resonates with you, then you are ready to move to understand how to correct the iron and the iron deficiency anemia, not just the diet. So thank you so much for this session, and I'll just make this recording stop, and then we can just have a question answer session.